The Killing Fields. Authentically good. This article is more than 16 years old. Roland S. Ejobasis. Masterwork is a solid piece of historical filmmaking, capturing factual detail without sacrificing fine storytelling. Alex von Tunzelmann can even forgive the use of Imagineelex. Von Tunzelmann through the 12th of March 2009.
H.0.
Gum Sharad Recta. Roland Grade. A history grade. A Rector Nixon. Ordered an incursion into Cambodia in 1970 as a corollary to the war in Vietnam. With the country under an American-installed government, the Khmer Rouge gained widespread support. After American withdrawal in 1975, it instituted a regime that made George Orwell's 1984 look like a feel-good tale of heartwarming friendship between a man, his brother, and their pet rat. Between 1975 to 1979, the Khmer Rouge coerced most of Cambodia's people into forced labor and murdered something in the region of 1.5 to 2 million, around 20 to 30% of the entire population. Violensum Waterston and Hong Esanor in The Killing Fields know, beating about the bush. Photograph. All-Star Cinetext. Warner Bros. Killing Fields follows the story of Dith Pran, Cambodian fixer, and his patron, New York Times journalist Sidney Schanberg. The first few scenes show the two of them traveling to the town of Neak Luang, which the Americans accidentally bombed. In 1973, putrid water fills enormous craters where homes used to be. Refugees stagger around the makeshift field hospital, begging Schanberg to take their photographs and show the world the truth of what is happening. Immediately, it's clear that this film is not going to patronize its audience by gift-trapping the story. It's complicated, challenging, and upsetting, just like the modern history of Cambodia. Casting in an inspired piece of casting, Dith is played by Hongis Unor, a doctor and real-life veteran of the Khmer Rouge's labor camps. This was Ngor's first performance, and it deservedly won him an Oscar. Sam Waterston is well cast as Schanberg, and John Malkovich gives a memorable performance as photographer Al Rockoff. On the other hand, the real Rockoff has always insisted that Schanberg was a lying coward and that both Malkovich's performance and many of the details in the scenes that take place inside the French embassy in Phnom Penh are inaccurate. Slaverizing from The Killing Fields saw human bondage. Photograph. Kobol. When the journalists are forced to leave, Dith is left to the mercy of the new regime. He passes himself off as a taxi driver, pretending not to speak English or French. The languages would immediately give him away as being middle class and having worked with foreigners, either of which would have earned him a summary execution. The 2.5 years Dith spent in Dam Dik, a village-cum-slave camp near Siem Reap, are unavoidably compressed, but the film does an excellent job of recreating the sense of living in constant fear and confusion. Characters speak in Khmer without subtitles, leaving the mostly non-Khmer speaking audience, like the prisoners in the camp, reliant on instinct to work out what's going on. In totalitarian regimes, whatever is said cannot be trusted anyway. Some of the facts of Dith's escape have been switched around, but the significant historical details are all present and correct. The Vietnamese invasion, Dith's flight over the border to Thailand, and the shocking recreation of the killing fields themselves. These vast dumping grounds where the Khmer Rouge left the bodies of their victims were described by the real Dith as being pitted with water wells full of corpses like soup bones and broth. In reality, Dith stayed around for longer under the Vietnamese occupation than the film allows, even becoming mayor of Siem Reap. However, the closing scenes, shot in a real Cambodian refugee camp in Koh Adong, Thailand, provide plenty of authenticity. They also include the film's one artistic misstep, ending on the fatuous strains of John Lennon's Imagine. Verdict. Sidney, Schanberg, and Dith Pran, reunited in Thailand in 1979. Reunited. Sidney Schanberg and Dith Pran in Thailand in 1979. Photograph. Teresa Zabala, Appet, S. Hard to know whether the real Al Rockoff or the real Sidney Schanberg is right about certain minor details. But the main storylines of this movie, U.S. involvement in Cambodia, the rise of the Khmer Rouge, the abuses and horrors of the regime, are not only accurate, but for many viewers, enlightening. The Killing Fields uses real archive footage and personalities to tell an astonishing and moving true story. As a result, even with one or two question marks, and even with John Lennon, this is historical filmmaking at its very best.